Welcome. And this show is being brought to you as a special edition from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, from the We Believe broadcast studios. It's a critical time in Jackson, Mississippi, and the world. You see, there are so many things going on that affect the African American population until we need someone to speak to it. Somebody needs to say something. And so Marcus Wallace is my co-host here. He and I have decided that we will take the challenge of speaking up. And so if you're watching us today on Facebook, we want you to share this programs with your friends and families. Hit the notification button so that you won't miss an episode. Send us stars to the show and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to subscribe to the program, hit the notification button. It's critically important that you join our growing list of subscribers and fans and folk that watch this show. We have gotten over 500,000 views in the last 28 days, and that's a consistent target of ours, is to get 500,000 plus and get up over 1 million views. Now, we've been seen all over the world in over 139 different countries, whether you're on Facebook, TikTok, on YouTube, or Rumble or Twitch, you'll be able to find We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio. So we're going to get right into it. Marcus, this is our very first show.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know exactly where we're going, but I know we're going somewhere.
As long as we start from somewhere.
As long as we start from somewhere.
That's right.
Now, Marcus, you've had a distinguished career here in Jackson, Mississippi, and in the state of Mississippi. Tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about who Marcus Wallace is. How did you get here?
Well, first of all, good evening to the listeners, and you're absolutely right. I have definitely been a blessed young man. One, in being able to grow up and watch a lot of you all businessmen in the city over the last 30 plus years or more, and been able to utilize what I actually majored in, business marketing. I've had a construction firm since 1996. Been blessed to work on a lot of projects in the state of Mississippi. I've been a certified sports agent for a number of years. Have been blessed to represent quite a few NFL, NBA, and overseas basketball players in the state of Mississippi, well, pretty much throughout the South. And also been blessed to get on the political side. I've served as 2 terms as mayor of Edwards from 2013 to 2021. Ran for transportation commissioner of Central District during that time, and also ran for the mayor of Jackson. So yeah, I think my resume it looks pretty good.
Looks good. Well, tell us a little bit about your family. And I know a lot about your background and where you got your training and things of that nature. But how do you make a Marcus Wallace?
Well, it all started, first of all, in Edwards, Mississippi. Both sets of grandparents had cafes back in the day. And, back then, cafes were connected to the houses. So while grandparents were selling whiskey, we was in the yard playing. And so I think that's where a lot of my entrepreneurship and spirit came from back when they were in business. And I got a chance to see them, work daily at building a business. And then, of course, when I moved to Jackson, and my stepfather, Mr. Jerry Owens, who was a prominent businessman here in the city of Jackson, and I got a chance to see Jerry help a lot of people. Jerry had from food distribution company, clothing store, car dealership, beauty salon, and I can honestly say everything that I got a chance to see him do, it was Hollywood. People don't realize some of the most popular stylists here in the city of Jackson were a lot of guys and women who Jerry brought from out of town, and they ended up branching off, getting their own establishments and becoming very popular stylists here in the city of Jackson. And even from the car dealership standpoint, we started out selling just regular cars, Regals, Cutlass, Buicks, things like that. But a lot of people came into the office and they always said that they dream of having a Mercedes, a BMW, Lexus cars, European cars, and Jerry did not stop until he was able to put people in those type vehicles. So that's kind of where Marcus Wallace has gotten a lot of his qualities from.
So I know a little bit about your background. So you speak of Jerry Owens, and to me, he was what I call the Black Don Corleone. He was the guy that really showed young Black folk that you could do some things. You mentioned that he had a food distribution business in the late 70s. And I mean, to have a food distribution business, I mean, he had trucks running all over the state, supplying food to all of the Head Start agencies and other businesses, had his own warehouse full of stock food, refrigerated foods and things of that nature. Right there on Bailey Avenue, Marcus, he had Rick and Vic's, the Black-owned clothing store there that had the same quality that you would get anywhere else in the world, and as you say, better styles. He also put a beauty salon next door to that and a nightclub on the other end. I've never seen anybody like Jerry Owens.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember years and years ago, you and I had a conversation, and I was telling you how Jackson really needs its own business, basically like a business Hall of Fame museum, because there are a lot of individuals who have not received the credit, in my opinion, like they should have. You take, for instance, Mr. Thad Bridges. If it wasn't for a lot of businesses, if it wasn't for Mr. Thad Bridges, a lot of businesses doors would have closed a long time ago. And that just show you how young I was, because I was young and seeing these type things back then. But I know Thad Bridges, Mr. Nolan Tate, a lot of people that have not gotten the recognition that they deserve in this city. And Jerry was always a person, if you could, first of all, he wanted you to dream big. And if you saw your dream through the windshield, your dream wasn't big enough. And that's and I'm sure you all have seen that in me over the years, because that's all I do is I dream. I think Jackson deserves to be the metropolis that it should be at this point in stage in our lives, and it's just not where it should be and where it needs to be.
Well, we're gonna talk about Jackson and other issues for sure. Now, you mentioned to me coming in earlier that you had some time to listen to WMPR, and they had a radio show on this morning talking about Jackson water. And so the water issue in Jackson continues to be a real sore subject, and it continues to be a crisis point in our city. Let's bring our viewers and audience up to date on how we got here with Jackson water.
Well, the first thing in all the issues that we have in this city, Socrates, we got to learn how to peel back the layers and deal with the real issues. Everybody wants to deal with just what's on the surface, but you have to peel back the layers so people can understand exactly what is going on, what has happened, what caused us to get where we are, and what it took to get here. And of course, we were a part of the Siemens project, a project that we were extremely proud of because we made history. We negotiated the largest African-American percentage on that project ever in the history of the city of Jackson. I think we garnered about 58% of the 90 million.
Right.
But that excitement and that joyous occasion turned into a nightmare for us, because over the last 10 years, 7 to 10 years, we've gotten drugged through the mud. Our businesses have been defamed, and it's all have been a negative myth about what had really happened. But when you peel back the layers and you look at all the facts, every African American business on that job completed their task, got paid every dime of their money. And one thing I want the listeners to really understand, because sometimes you have to break it down for people to understand. In big commercial construction projects such as this Siemens project, there's usually an engineer or whatever who helps the owner of that particular project manage the project. And so us as the contractors, they're what you call oversight to us. And so in order for us to get paid, that particular oversight is what inspects, approves, and sign off for us to get paid. Now think about it. If we got for instance, my part of the 90 million contract was $20,328,000. I got to be a bad man to get all $20,328,000 if I did faulty work or didn't complete the project, correct? There's also a 10% retainage that they hold back to make sure that everything has been finalized and complete. Got to be a bad man to get 10% retainage and didn't complete the project or did faulty work. There's also a performance and payment bond that you have to get on those type projects, and those bonds basically ensure that you're going to perform the job and you're going to pay your people for the materials and your laborers on those jobs. And in the event that you don't, they can come back on the claim. Got to be a bad man to have no claims on a bond that I supposedly did faulty work on. And so we got to stop throwing out all these false narratives to the people.
Well, who is throwing out false narratives, Marcus?
Well, it's a whole bag of folks. I mean, what it is, and the sad part about it is when one person get a bone, they run and they just keep passing the bone to people, and you have people out here that just continue talking about it without getting the facts.
Right. Well, let me interject here as a member of the minorities that participated on the Siemens contract. Ours was quality control, and we certainly provided that service, and everything that went wrong with those meters, we were advised in Siemens all along that we had some issues here. Their job is to fix the issue. And so they had meters that were reading, some were being shipped in here that was reading by the gallon, some was reading by linear foot. They were meter problems and issues, but you have to install whatever they give you, and
Exactly.
we have to let the city know. And so I want to go back and I want to make sure that our viewers understand something here about this Siemens project. First of all, the Siemens project was brought up during Mayor Harvey Johnson's term. And Mayor Harvey Johnson was the finest African-American mayor we've ever had in this city. He and Maynard Jackson were in lockstep. Maynard Jackson actually came to his inauguration and actually spoke there. And the mayor was trying to find a way that he could generate revenue without raising taxes on Jackson citizens, because he was of the opinion that Jackson citizens could not take any additional taxation. And so Siemens presented a project that said that we can come in and do a study and evaluate your meters and tell you how much water you're losing. You're producing this amount of water, but you're losing 50% of the water before it even gets to the homes. And if we could eliminate the loss, and then we could get those people that aren't paying to pay, then you wouldn't have to raise taxes in your city, and it won't cost you anything because the savings will pay the note. And so that concept was presented to the mayor. Mayor Harvey Johnson did not sign the agreement with Siemens. I believe it was signed under Chokwe Lumumba Sr.
That's right.
He actually signed the agreement and the city council approved it. And in order to have a contract like that, the state of Mississippi had to approve it as well. So it is not one of these deals, contracts that the city can go into without getting state approval and the council approval. So Jackson knew that what it was doing, and it was trying to do the best it could for the city. Projects sometimes go wrong. Now, the bad part, the sad part about this one is when projects go wrong, major companies like Siemens and Oracle, they're not scathed, they're not harmed. Their reputation is intact.
Right.
No one talks about them on the radio show. But an African-American firm, if anything goes wrong in the project, whether you riding the bus or driving it, in this case, you just riding it, you're blamed for the faulty trip.
That's right.
And it's just crazy. And I have a real issue with the past mayor, Chokwe Lumumba, when he decided to sue Siemens, he actually listed and sued all of the minority contractors at the same time.
That's right.
Which were the finest people that he had in his city, the largest contractors that he had in his city. So he listed them in the lawsuit. And when I spoke to him about that, he said he had no intentions of harming us in any way. He was advised to do that, and he did it. At the end of the day, as you were saying, we did no wrong and was actually compensated by Siemens for having been listed in a lawsuit that we should have never been a part of.
And let me add to what you just said, because I'm a true believer, especially nowadays, we got to really break things down and really clarify. You just said he had some of the finest business people in this city a part of that project. Let me tell you what my definition. Let me make sure the community knows what I mean, what you mean by finest. I'm a true believer that if a bit, really, first and foremost, we definitely need to support local business. When we do these big projects in the city, when we have these major disasters, the local business community should benefit. That's how you create jobs, and that's how you put revenue back into the communities. Well, let me kind of toot some of our horns when you say finest businesses. Socrates Garrett Enterprises, which we all know was on the Siemens project. Guess what Mr. Garrett did during that time? Mr. Garrett went and spent $75,000 on the baseball field at Callaway High School. Those are the kind of things. Marcus Wallace put $125,000 into Provine when my son was over there at Provine. Several, went and spent $42,000 at Walmart on Highway 18 and put brand new coats on the backs of these children in this city. So when you say finest business, some of the finest business people around here, that's what I mean, because you should kill more than one bird out of the stone, if you understand. It should be two or three. And if you got a business that you continue to help keep vibrant and they putting back in the community can't do anything but grow. During that Siemens project, I hired 138 guys. I strategically hired those guys, though. And if you see any of them on the streets right now, they'll tell you. I got 4 or 5 guys out of the Addition, Verdant Addition, Brown Bottom, Northwest Hills, all of the neighborhoods, Shady Oaks, the Queens. I hired those guys strategically because I wanted to, and I promised those guys, that if I got a big project, that I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna help the community, build back. And guess what? When you do that, when you get these guys from off the street or they just got out of penitentiary, they're gonna help you. They're gonna help keep their neighborhoods safe. They're going to do the things to clean up and things like that because you're giving them opportunities that they didn't expect. I had so many street guys come in my office with tears in their eyes. I said, Mr. Wallace, you the only one gave us a chance. I'm a certified water meter installer. And that meant something to them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Marcus, we've reached the halfway point in our show, and time's flying. And so we're going to have to break for a commercial. Y'all stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Garrett Wholesale Tires and Trucking Company. We hit the ground running and leave the rest behind. Get moving with Garrett today. At Garrett Tire and Truck Company, we carry the top tire brands in the industry. Truck tires, commercial tires, passenger tires, all at wholesale prices. Whether you run one vehicle or an entire fleet, we keep you rolling longer with durability, performance, and unbeatable value. Why pay retail when you can buy wholesale? Garrett Wholesale Tires and Trucking Company. Top brands, wholesale prices, built for the road.
We're back. I hope you've enjoyed the first segment of our program. Marcus and I have not decided upon a name for this weekly show. And so we look forward to getting some suggestions from you guys on our Facebook and the chat on the screen. And when you're looking at all of the reels that we're going to produce on TikTok and YouTube and other places, you'll help us come up with the proper name for the program. But we were talking just then about these tremendous contributions that Black businesses have made in this community. And it was the desire of Mayor Harvey Johnson to build a strong Black business class, that he made that priority one on his platform, to build a strong Black business class. And he set out to do that. And quite frankly, Black businesses were doing well. They were doing well. Like the firms that were handling the auditing for the city, Banks, Finley and White. You had Socrates Garrett Enterprises rolling out there. We had Marcus rolling out there. We had James Covington and his business rolling out there. We had the engineering firm SAW rolling out there. And we had things moving, and we were building a foundation. We could have become Black Wall Street right here in Jackson had everybody stayed true to the goals and the objectives.
That's right.
And the goal and the objective was simply put in place by Maynard Jackson when he said that if you get a contract with the city of Atlanta, 25% of that project has to be completed by Black firms. That's what Maynard said, and Mayor Johnson advocated the same position. His position was that if the $15 million project, it had to be a mandatory joint venture. Mm-hmm. And so, and we had a strong council with Louis Armstrong and Bo Brown and that group of folk that were holding the line, and Black businesses were growing.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. When I became mayor of Edwards, I took that same game plan to Edwards. Nothing came out of Edwards, Mississippi that I signed off on that did not have minority participation on it. I amended and added an extra percentage separate from the minority, meaning nothing came out of there without somebody from Edwards being a part of it. And because to me, that's what you call local economic empowerment. When you're making sure the people right there in the community is, getting a piece of it. And I on my campaign trail for transportation commissioner, I had the same philosophy. If I was up in Sunflower County doing a road project, somebody there was going to be an African American participation piece, but somebody in Sunflower County, I don't care if they had to spread the hay on the side of the road, somebody in Sunflower County was going to get a piece of that opportunity. and that's missing here in Jackson.
Oh, and it's critically important.
Yeah.
And Marcus, I don't hear our current leaders mentioning minority participation hardly ever.
And you know, again, like I said, we have to make sure we break things down so people can understand, because you know, so they'll be quick to say, "Oh, they hating this, that, and the third." And I want to make sure people understand. Mayor Horn and I are friends. He was my senator when I was mayor of Edwards. But as of this date, and the new administration has been in office since July, the only people I see happy around here are white folks. I just got to be honest with you about it. And when you talk about Jackson rising, you got to look at that. You got to look at that real serious. The makeup of Jackson, Mississippi is 85% African American. If there's no African American business that's gotten the opportunity since this administration has been in office, which the ones I know I've asked, nobody said that they've gotten anything, or even, you know, barely gotten, you know, meetings or whatever. How is Jackson really rising if the majority of the people that make up Jackson isn't rising? You know, the school district, the schools, we did a good job back in the day adopting schools and doing things for the schools. But if you ask the public schools right now, they can't get any help hardly from any business. And that really hurts my heart, because I'm really used to doing when they call, you know, without hesitation saying yes. But I'm real hesitant of saying yes now, because my business is not getting opportunities that it was getting, you know, back years ago. And it's, I just completed a garden shed for the kids over at Johnson Elementary over here off of Meg Edwards. And, you know, I love doing things like that for the kids, you know, to win my heart over anything for the children, the elderly, or the homeless. I'm usually there for it. But, you know, I can't take a lot of projects like that now, because the opportunities have not been there for us, and the revenue has not been flowing like it used to be.
You can't do it. And one of the reasons that you can't do it, Marcus, you know, like you know, I know that I have sent basketball teams from Callaway down to the tournament. I have bought shoes for the boys at Powell Elementary to make sure they had gym shoes to wear. And so we give into the community all of the time, and we train these people. Between the two of us, we probably hired over 200 people on payroll. 99% of them were probably African American. And so you're putting back, you're doing what you think is right, and then yet there comes a time when you, in fact, are not allowed to participate in the largest economic project the city's ever had, this $600 million project that was sent down here to repair the water structure and the infrastructure. Those businesses, yours and mine, and other folks that participate in the Siemens project are not allowed to do any work. Now, legally speaking, you can't say that, but you can enforce it. So if I were to talk to a contractor that's doing work on the Siemens project as being a subcontractor, and I'm not used to being a subcontractor, I'm used to being a prime. But even if I were talking to him about a subcontract, he would tell me that I can't hire you. And that has been consistent with your business, my business, and I think it's patently illegal and it's morally wrong.
Well, you know, that has definitely been another nightmare for us. You know, when Ted Hennepin came to town and he was given this blank check to do work. And again, to the community, I want to break it down so you all understand. Ted Hennepin was basically given a blank check. He had only one person to answer to, and he could approve and disapprove hiring and contracting folks out for the project without any oversight or no one basically watching over him. Well, here's the catch to that. We gave him too much power, first of all, because when EPA first came in here and did their first evaluation, there was an article that stated that they were very concerned about the amount of money he was drawing down on the projects. And so now, but at that particular time, everybody had basically made him this Superman that had come into town, and we gave him a cape, and so now, after all the damages have been done, everybody wants to look and see now if he's done something wrong. Well, all the money is gone now. He brought in 85% of the workforce came from out of town. Only, I think only maybe 15% African-American businesses got opportunities from around here. And the catch part to that is this man was having several outreach meetings saying that he was calling all local businesses because he wanted to share about the local opportunities. As Mr. Socrates just stated, here we are attending just about every meeting that he had with a resume from here to County Line Road of the projects that we've completed, all the experience and the equipment needed to help him get the job done. But we found ourselves, the door closed on us every single time. And so something is wrong with that picture. And I have to start with the blame on the leadership in this city first, because if we had the right leadership, there's no way someone can come in here and do that without having the right voice in place. If you had the right voice in place, he wouldn't have done that. Because one thing I've learned over the years is the people that have the opportunities or these contracts, if the voices are strong, they're going to dance to that, whatever that music is. When Harvey Johnson was in office, I can honestly tell people, Harvey would meet and he would listen. And at the end of that meeting, he's going to ask, who local you all are working for? And if you said, or you didn't have anybody, that shirt would probably get tighter. And he said, well, y'all come back to see me when y'all get all that together. And actually, that is how I was blessed to be a part of the ownership group of the Iron Horse Grill and the Westin, because at first they didn't have any local people involved. And when they started putting local folks in a part of those ownership groups, then things started moving. And so we got to change the blueprint as to what's going on here in the city. I'm not by no means am I a racist. I have some white folks that I truly love and respect, but we gotta look at the landscape and the blueprint of this city. This city is 85% African American. That's black muscle, people. But that black muscle is weak as sweet water if we don't understand and realize the strength of that black muscle.
Well, let's speak to the white perspective. You're in a city that white people have abandoned, and you are now left here to try to restore it and to try to repair and to grow the economy. White people expect you to give opportunities to your folk. Now, if you don't do that, then what was the purpose of having a black person in charge in the first place? And when I say give opportunities, let's don't get this twisted.
That's right. Let's break it down.
We're not talking about no kickbacks. We're not talking about no illegal contracts. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about opportunities. Given the opportunities, black people can assemble a team with capacity to do good work, given the opportunities. Now, less than 10% of the contracts for goods and services go to African Americans in this city. Less than 1% of the contracts for goods and services at the state level goes to African American, less than 1%, in a state that you're 40% of this population. Now, something's wrong with that picture. And this state and this city cannot grow if the bottom half of your population is not lifted up. You can't fight crime, and when there's poverty, you have to address the poverty issues before you can fix what's wrong with crime, because people with jobs and people that's living in the middle class, they don't commit no crimes.
Right.
And so we have to find a way to raise this bottom of our society up. And we got to do that through contracts with opportunities with goods and services. Black folk had an economy back in the day before we integrated. Now we're segregated again because white people left, but we didn't retain the contracts. We still, as you said, 85% of all of the work that's being done to repair the water meters and the water lines and the plant and the wastewater drinking plant is being done by out-of-state contractors, not even in-state contractors. Now, if you're the poorest city in the state, you gotta control your economy and keep it in-house in order to turn that around. Now, Marcus, we got a lot of things to talk about, and we're gonna get to it a lot. But I want to talk briefly about this race that's coming up. Now, you ran for the commissioner spot on MDOT, and you see these races that are getting ready to, that have gone on now, in all of our senators' races that are going on. What's your thoughts over there?
Well, and to, even piggyback off what you just finished talking about, and what with the current topic about this election. At the end of the day, Mr. Socrates, we got to vote, man. I think that's the common denominator to all of this. If 40,000 people in Hinds County, 40 more thousand people in Hinds County had voted, Brandon Presley would be the governor of Mississippi right now. But somewhere our people are brainwashed as to what the importance of voting, and they have no idea of how strong we could be if we just vote. If we start out just voting, we could really make this thing happen. We also got to change our way of voting. We got to start putting more passionate people in these seats, because right now we got a lot of people holding these seats who are just holding a title. They're trying to make sure that their retirement and their pockets are itched and stitched in stone. But when it comes to passion, oh my God, you could run a short bus with the amount of people who have the real passion, the real passion. We the leaders we have nowadays, it's like a lot of them are afraid to get on the front line and really charge at this thing like it should be. I mean, you take the Jackson water situation, for instance. We've had a water crisis. We've had a food crisis with the SNAP benefits. If anybody can name me one community outreach project that Jackson Water did, and now Jackson Water come in, made hundreds of millions of dollars, but I didn't see Jackson Water not one time reach out in these communities during these crises. But here you have a person like Marcus Wallace, who's been drugged through the mud, barely, keeping the doors open right now, who brought 2 Kroger trucks in here. The first one during the water crisis, everybody was giving water out to the citizens. Of course, I always sit back and strategically when we make a decision on things. So I brought a 18-wheeler load of water in here for the restaurants because they were struggling during that time. When the SNAP benefits happened, brought another Kroger truck in along with some friends of mine, and we gave out boxes of food throughout the small town. What I did was I gave them to the mayors to spread out to the towns throughout Hinds County. But again, if you don't have these leaders that's charging at these businesses and that's coming in here making all this money and say, hey, it's okay for you to come in here and get some of these opportunities, but you're going to do something in this community. That's what we got. We gotta somehow change the blueprint or strengthen the blueprint as it relates to voting.
Well, we're gonna have to do that, Marcus, but I don't know. I'm trying to see now if we've given away the opportunity to be important to our citizens. If you don't control the contracts, the economy, if you cannot impact that one area, then you in fact have put yourself back in some form of slavery. It's slavery because you now got to go to the master, to white folks, to try to get some work for your family. Now, when the city council and the mayor decided that an authority was the right form of government to manage the water in Jackson, what they said was that we want white folk to decide who gets the contracts associated with wastewater and drinking water, which is the largest two opportunities that in our community. We don't control the airport, and we don't control even the police department. So when you say that the mayor doesn't decide who is going to have the professional service contract to manage the wastewater treatment plant or the drinking water plant, if you give that to someone else to do, then you're going to find that Black businesses are going to start having to support the people that you put in charge. That means that we're going to have to start voting for white people. That means we're going to have to start financing white folks' campaigns in hopes that they would give us an opportunity to do some work. And that's where we're headed. And so while the vote is important, but if what you voted for doesn't deliver for you, you can't stay that way forever.
Well, I totally agree with you. And again, when I say voting, that's just part of it. The passion part is also a part of it because, the word capacity has been a nightmare to a lot of us. And when big opportunities come up, or when opportunities come up, the first thing leadership, the political leadership that we have, that's one of the first things that they mention. Well, this company don't have the capacity. African American companies don't get a piece of the pie because they don't have capacity. Well, I want to talk to the political leaders around here to let you all know you are the ones that create capacity. If a project is $1 million, there's no law that says that you got to issue that project out in $1 million. You have the power to break that project up to 5 increments of 200,000, where African American companies can reach and grab it. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so that's what I mean by we gotta get the people to understand the importance of voting so we can get some of these people out of here, number one. But we gotta replace them with folks with passion who are willing to say, I'm gonna stay up all night and break this project down so we can get some people in this community working.
Right.
Marcus,
we're running out of time, so I'm going to summarize and let you close us out. It's important, viewers, that you understand that we're not here bitching and screaming and crying about what white folk have done. That has nothing to do with this conversation at all. This conversation is about self-determination. It's about the ability for you to provide for yourself, for the ability for you to create opportunities for your children. 90% of all African Americans that are employed are working for African Americans, not, they're not working anywhere else. If you don't have a job in state government or city government, then the only other place you got to work for in Mississippi is Black businesses. And so we have to strengthen the Black business class. So no, we're not here screaming and hollering because of spilled milk, because quite frankly, we've had significant success, significant opportunities, have seen some things all over this world. Jackson has afforded us that, and we are eternally grateful for that. But for those that are coming behind us, we want to make sure that they have the same opportunities. When Marcus said he was on a $20 million contract, I want you to understand the significance of that. How do you get to a position in life in Mississippi where you can have a $20 million contract? When I tell you that we had risen to the point where we own the wastewater treatment plant, the Jackson Water Partnership, we own 35% of that from an equity standpoint. When Marcus says he owned interest in the Iron Horse Grill and the Western Hotel, and I own the restaurant at the Airport Authority, that's what Black leadership creates for you to do. So we're not out here, white folk have got nothing to do with this, nothing at all. This is about self-determination and our people doing the right thing. And currently, that's not happening.
I agree. And I would just like to leave the community with this. When it comes to the love for this city, I think I can rank myself among some of the highest. I have truly shown the love that I have for this city by not just being a successful businessman, but I've put my resources where my mouth is. I've helped so many children and elderly homeless people in this community. Again, as Mr. Socrates stated, it's not about the white community, the Caucasian community in this city at all. Do I think they should have a voice? Do I think they should have a chair at the table? Absolutely. Yes, I do. But again, Jackson can't rise until the makeup of Jackson is rising. And I'll leave you all with that.
Y'all stay tuned. We'll be back when we get back. Good evening. You turn me into a co-host.